Physiology of PCOS is hyperinsulinemia and hyperandrogenemia. This is the two main fact that is in this is the flow chart which shows insulin receptor dysfunction pancreas leads to hyperinsulinemia, which acts by two ways. From the liver, it produces with the defect reduced serum hormone binding globulin. When the binding is reduced, there is an increased free antigens and it acts on the adrenaline adrenal and produces elevated dihydroepiandrosterone. So this too is the reason for increased androgen. And as I mentioned, with HPO axis, that is LH FSH disturbed, FSH LH ratio is reduced, which leads to the theca cell hyperplasia, stroma and follicles, which leads to the elevated androgens. So PCOS is with hyperinsulinemia and hyperandrogenemia. What happens in adolescent with the twofold? First, we should think with the mainly with the cyclical control of the bleeding, that is irregular menstrual cycle. The adolescent girls will come with only the complaints of irregular menstrual cycles. Rather than the girls, the parents, mother, she is much worried about the PCOS. The second issue, which involves stimulates the increased incidence in adolescence, is the obesity, insulin resistance, glucose intolerance, and type 2 diabetes. These are the twofold which causes a insulin. So when to call as PCOS? It is characterized in a year, irregular menstruation less than 6 cycles per year if it is present, and clinical or biochemical features of hyperandrogenism, which I will show in the future slides. If it is present only, it should be considered as PCOS. As per National Institute of Health criteria, the incidence has been reported to be 8 to 13, but it is not specific because the prevalence is not at all identified. It is increased with wrong conception and like that. So in adolescent, again, overweight and obesity amplifies the clinical implication. So if you don't identify in adolescent, it may disturb the metabolic function and it will go to the metabolic syndrome. So what are all the symptoms? The symptoms should be to consider that the patient is having, that girl is having the PCOS. Most of the time we see in the clinic, the mother, she brings an ultrasound and tells that my daughter is having PCOS, whether she can get married, whether she will have children. Only with the ultrasound features, we cannot consider the PCOS. What features should be present in ultrasound? I'll show in the feature slides. The symptoms should be of hyperandrogenism and hyperinsulinism. Hyperandrogenism, what happens? That is mainly with the male hormones. That is the hormones of the testosterone. It produces frontoparietal baldness. That is in the head, the top sides and everything. It is called as androgenic alopecia. Then chronic inflammations of the sebaceous glands. It can produce the acne. Then lesions, hirsutism, hair growth in unwanted places. That is mainly in the male place. That is chest, back, lower abdomen, over the upper lip. If these are present, it is called as hirsutism. So baldness, hirsutism, acne, if anything is present, it will be a symptoms of hyperandrogenism. So how to identify that patient is having the hirsutism? For everything, just like that, for a few growth of hair, we cannot consider them as hirsutism. The hair growth should be seen in these 9 places. This is the scoring we called Ferryman-Galway scoring. Upper lip, chin, chest, upper back, lower back, upper abdomen, upper arm, forearm, thigh, leg. With this calculation, we have to see if the score is
Hello.
more than 8, we can consider it as hirsutism. Then with the baldness, this Ludwig scale is important. With the hair loss, the first picture shows the normal, and type 1 with minimal hair loss, and type 2 with moderate hair loss, and type 3 shows the alopecia. So Ludwig scale of hair loss is also important. This acne, again, the global assessment, whether the skin is clear or minimal lesion present, whether it is a moderate severity or severe acne present even after the treatment. According to that, it has to be classified. So hirsutism, baldness, and acne, if it is present, it rejects the hyperandrogenism. Then the second is the hyperinsulinemia. How can you know that the patient is having insulin resistance? and that to the adolescent girl, which she cannot tell. In that case, if there is an acanthosis nigricans, that is the only identification for insulin resistance. Acanthosis nigricans is nothing but a blackish colorations over the neck. If it is present, you should suspect insulin resistance. That could be a family history of diabetes also. Again, it can be confirmed with 75-gram glucose of 2-hour GTT. As it is mentioned, fasting of 100 to 125 and 2-hour postprandial 140 to 199, it is impaired GTT. If it is more than this, 126 fasting and 2-hour 200, consider her as diabetic. So if the patient is a PCOS, there is an incidence for increased type 2 diabetes in future. So insulin resistance will be identified with this OGTT and acanthosis nigricans. So this hyperinsulinemia, hyperandrogenemia, with both this, what is the clinical presentation in PCOS? First is anovulation. As I mentioned, menstrual abnormalities. Patient will come with oligomenorrhea or amenorrhea followed by profuse bleeding, or with 4 months amenorrhea, like that the patient history will be. Then hirsutism and acne. Most of the time, they don't have confidence to walk out with this hirsutism and acne. They will be afraid of the friends who will always cheat on. Then the acrocordons. Acrocordons is nothing, a skin tag which is present over the neck, that can be present in acrocordons. As I mentioned earlier, blackish coloration over the neck, that is acanthosis nigricans, alopecia with the hyperandrogenism. Patient will be obese. 90% of PCOS patient will be obese. Finally, only with ultrasound feature of polycystic ovaries. If this is present from the adolescent, next is reproductive stage. So because of this anovulation, they may end up in infertility. If it is not corrected in reproductive age, again this PCOS is continuing, means they will end up in metabolic syndrome, nearing perimenopause or menopause or postmenopause. So this adolescence itself, PCOS should be identified, and whatever treatment is needed, depending on the signs and symptoms, it has to be treated. Then if you don't go, I told you the metabolic syndrome. This is the criteria for pediatric DATP3 diagnostic criteria of metabolic syndrome. We have mentioned 5 points: blood glucose more than 100, and high density lipoprotein less than 40, triglycerides more than or equal to 110, the blood pressure and circumference of 90th percentile for age and sex. If 3 of this is present with the 5, this is considered as metabolic syndrome. So if she goes for metabolic syndrome in future, they will have the hypertension and diabetes. So when it should be diagnosed? So these are all the symptoms and the signs with the patient adolescent is brought to your OP by her itself or with the mother. And what are all the investigations you will tell? And how will you tell the girl that she is having the PCOS? This is the criteria. This is mainly for adults. So the criteria is oligo or anovulation. And second is clinical or biochemical features of hyperandrogenism, which I showed you earlier. Third is the polycystic ovaries of ultrasound features with exclusion of other etiologies. Other etiologies ruled out. If any 2 of the 3 is present, it should be considered as PCOS. This is mainly with adult. But in adolescents, the follicular study, even this PCOS scan, everything is good only when you go with the TVS probe, transvaginal probe. For an adolescent who are not sexually active, you cannot go with transvaginal. So this transvaginal probe, abdominal scan, it is not having a good specificity and sensitivity. So as per ESHRE guidelines, all these 3 criteria, if present, that is oligo or anovulation, menstrual irregularity, and clinical or biochemical features of hyperandrogenism present, and next added factor of PCOS in ultrasound, then only you should consider it as PCOS. Clinical presentation, as I told, irregular bleeding and hyperandrogenism is important for diagnosis of PCOS in adolescents. In less than 8 years, there is no necessity for ultrasound. You cannot do that. If it is more than 8 years, then also ultrasound, since it is an abdominal ultrasound, it has no importance. What are all the features in ultrasound? I'll show in the coming slide. So finally, the pathophysiology is neuroendocrine disorder, defect in insulin synthesis, and defect in androgen synthesis, inherited genetic disorders, and the environmental factors, stress. Adolescents have a lot of stress. Usually, I used to tell all the adolescents who come to my clinic during stress and fear, don't decide anything. So this is the pathophysiology of PCOS. That is the multifactorial. So what are all the investigation? If a girl comes with PCOS telling with an ultrasound and her mother tells that she is having the PCOS, no need for us to do all the investigations. What is the investigations to be done for a girl and which is not essential, I'll tell you now. When a patient comes with these findings, first you have to rule out the hypothyroidism. The thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, has to be done, and hypothyroidism has to be ruled out because the mechanism is more or less the same with the ovulation. And again, if prolactin is increased, hyperprolactinemia, so prolactin has to be done and it has to be ruled out. And non-classical congenital adrenal hyperplasia, with in that case, 17-hydroxyprogesterone. So these are all the things you have to do to rule out thyroid, hyperprolactin, and non-classical congenital adrenal hyperplasia. If the patient is having menstrual irregularity or if amenorrhea history is present, if needed, you can go with serum gonadotropin of FSH and LH, but it is not a mandatory test. For infertility cases, you can do it. And this anti-Mullerian hormone serum AMH all tell that it is increased in PCOS, but this cannot be used for detection of polycystic morphology as a single test for the diagnosis of PCOS. So what are all the tests? Normally, we expect is TSH to rule out thyroid, fasting and 2-hour GTT to be done to rule out the insulin resistance, prolactin to rule out the hyperprolactinemia. If congenital adrenal hyperplasia non-classical types present, you go with DHEAS and 17-hydroxyprogesterone and testosterone. Again, this testosterone, free testosterone has less sensitivity and specificity. It has to be done with calculated free testosterone, that is from the androgen index and total testosterone and serum hormone binding globulin. There has a formula which I'll tell if needed. Then after this, FSH and LH in amenorrhea patient, you can use this. Ultrasound is the last finding for to consider it as PCOS. To follow up, you can have the lipid profile. This fasting insulin, nowadays it has no importance. There is no necessity to do the fasting insulin. So these are all the investigation categories. What are all the differential diagnoses? After doing all these tests, if we can do this, that these are all the diagnoses which can be ruled out. Primary thyroid disorder, hyperprolactinemia, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, androgen secreting tumors, patient if they are very obese, and severe insulin resistance syndrome and Cushing syndrome. So these are all the differential diagnoses of PCOS. As I mentioned you, ultrasound, if at all, if you want to have that with the ultrasound feature, to consider this as PCOS, these findings should be there. 12 or more follicles. Each follicle should be of 2 to 9 millimeter. Just like that, you cannot tell the ultrasound picture shows both ovary shows the features of polycystic ovarian disease. That is not the finding. The report should be like this, and it should be measured in the longitudinal and the AP cross section. If there is a difference, if it is less than 10 millimeter follicles, the mean of 2 diameters can be taken. Ovarian volume should be more than 10 ml. So the follicle size, number of follicles, ovarian volume, it has to be mentioned. Transvaginal approach is preferable in sexually active. For an adolescent who are not sexually active, and even where we do the transabdominal, the report may not be exact. The measurement should be almost on the 3rd or 5th day of the bleeding. Even the patient comes with amenorrhea history, give progesterone and withdrawal bleeding. After that, you do 1/3 or the 5th day. First of all, if the adolescent girl comes with amenorrhea history, once after menarche, amenorrhea means you have to rule out the pregnancy. Avoid subjective appearance. As I told you, that just like that, you cannot tell PCOS features, necklace pattern, that and all. It's not accepted. You have to give this. Follicle distribution is also not relevant. And if the patient is on OC pills for any reason, oral contraceptive pills means, then the future ultrasound features will not be correct. The dominant follicles, if it is more than 10 mm or corpus luteum present, you have to repeat the scan in the next cycle. So ultrasound features of PCOS should tell the follicles, follicle size and number of follicles and the ovarian volume. Almost everything is 10. The reporting should have her last menstrual period. Bleeding should date also should be mentioned. And approach, whether it was done by the abdominal scan or whether it was done in the TVS, it has to be mentioned. And then the same thing, follicles 2 to 9 millimeter, 3 dimensions, and endometrial thickness, that is the 3-layer endometrium, that has also to be done. If the patient is having only on progesterone or OC pills, whatever it is, the endometrial thickness has to be done. When you do this, you can have a look on other factors, ovarian pathology, anything is present, any fibroid in the uterine pathology, endometriosis, anything present, that other pathology is also has to be reported. So ultrasound features without this report should not be considered as PCOS. So diagnostic evaluation finally is essential investigation and desirable investigation. What are all the essential? Rule out thyroid and prolactin, TSH and serum prolactin, 17-hydroxyprogesterone for non-classical adrenal hyperplasia, GTT to be done if there is a family history and insulin resistant, lipid profile for follow-up to go for metabolic problems, calculated free testosterone, as I mentioned earlier, with androgenic index, and serum hormone binding globulin. It has to be divided and multiplied into 100. Will tell the calculated free testosterone. Ultrasonography, TVS or TAS, it should be mentioned if needed. Desirable investigation is dihydroepiandrosterone, FSH and LH if needed, if you suspect any adrenaline problem. Fasting insulin, at present, it is not at all needed. Now, vitamin D3, for all factors, now we tell that there is a vitamin D3 deficiency for the thyroid or whatever complication. In that case, we have to tell the vitamin D3. Free testosterone is not useful. You have to go with the calculated free testosterone. And for less than 8 years, no need for ultrasonography. So you have to ask the patient about the obstructive sleep apnea, emotional well-being, eating disorders, and body image issues. So whenever you meet an adolescent girl in your UP, you take an opportunity and ask all these questions. There is one screening test for PCOS also in adolescent. Screening is nothing, just to ask the questions, whether the patient is obese or overweight, whether she is having hypertension, any cardiovascular problem is present. Lipid profile can be done annually if it is needed cases, and family history present, you can go with 75 GTT. Ask about the obstructive sleep apnea, emotional well-being, eating disorders, body image. With this, you can go the quality of life, how they are going, and what is the PCOS questionnaire you can have in your clinic. So now we have seen the pathology, what happens with the physiology, and what are all the investigations has to be done, and what treatment has to be done. Whether all PCOS needs a pharmacological treatment or whether some of the patients needs the lifestyle modification. Whatever the treatment, all PCOS patients, the main treatment is lifestyle modification. So it is a holistic approach required before the pharmacology treatment is decided. Education, lifestyle, cosmetic therapy, and counseling. It is very, very important in adolescence. Individual, depending on the complaints, whether it is the complaints with menstruation, whether she comes with the hirsutism, depending on that only, treatment has to be given. Now, first we will see that what are all the objectives to treatment, which I mentioned. Treatment of menstrual irregularity and management of hirsutism, alopecia, and reducing the insulin resistance complications which can happen in future, that is the metabolic problems. Whatever it is, lifestyle modification is the first line of management. What is this lifestyle modification? It is very easy to advise, it is very difficult to follow, but we have to tell the adolescents about the diet and exercise. Carbohydrate diet, 40% of the total calories, and 1500 to 1600 calories per day. So you should ask them to take 3 main meals and 3 snacks. Every adolescent girls, they should never skip the breakfast. The importance of breakfast should be told. If they don't have the breakfast with the night fasting, The poor glucose and insulin metabolism will be disturbed, and it will itself is a reason for obesity and increase the weight gain. So avoid refined carbohydrates and increase the fiber diet. Ask them to take plenty of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and whatever protein intakes, and increase the intake of omega 3 by 6 fatty acids, that is fish and nut. So if you go on talk to the adolescents, they may not like it. Normally, adolescents never fond of advice. So you can have the pictures like this in your clinic posters. What are all the things to be taken frequently? Fruits and vegetables, nuts, milk. And what are all the things not to be taken? If you told them that don't take the fast food, they will take. So you should tell them, reduce it. You can take at least monthly once, pizza, burger, anything. So you can have the posters like this. Next, the exercise. What are all the exercise we advise? What happens with the exercise normally? 150 minutes per week or 30 minutes per day. It can be done morning 10 minutes, afternoon 10 minutes, or night 10 minutes. Now the girl will be going for a plus two and she may not have time to do this exercise, but still, what are all the simple exercises they can do? That exercise itself will improve her reproductive features, menstrual irregularity, and ovulation. Daily exercise improves the body's use of insulin. These are all walking, swimming, cycling, dancing. These are all the exercise. You all are very well knew that when a girl is doing the plus two means her dance class is stopped, swimming is stopped, everything is stopped. So because they have the regular school work, extra homework, and other things. So in that situation, these are all the simple methods we can ask them to improve their exercise. Climb the stairs wherever possible. Avoid the lifts and escalators. And when they go by bus, ask them to start get in before two stops. And during the lunchtime, they can walk. And when they want to meet the colleague, they can go and meet rather than meeting with the emails and WhatsApp call. Gardening and home cleaning, these are all the simple exercises they can do. They if at all they cannot do these things also, sit-ups, they can do 30 times per day. This US people are telling when you do sit-ups 30 times a day, it will improve your memory power. What we do for Vinayaka, they tell that it will improve the memory power. So whenever they read, they can recollect that whatever they have read and do the sit-ups. That is also a good exercise. So the exercise, main thing, the adolescent girls or boys, whatever it is, they should not take snacks when they watch the TV. What is the amount of snacks they take? They don't know when they watch the TV. When we were adolescent, the TVs of Dianara and Solidar, the TVs were obese. We were thin, but now the TVs are very thin, LED and LCD lying on the wall, and the watchers they are very obese. So this diet and exercise will reduce the obesity, and the menstrual regularity will be formed, ovulation will be increased, reproductive features also increase. The importance of diet and exercise should be counseled to the adolescents. Then if there is a menstrual irregularity, they come with oligomenorrhea, or if there is an menorrhea of 4 months or 5 months, first give the progesterone and make them to have the withdrawal bleeding. Only progesterone will be useful. Only progesterone. If you give progesterone, it will be useful for the withdrawal bleeding. Then you can continue with it. Can be an orethistron acetate or MPA, medroxyprogesterone acetate, or dihydrogesterone also can be given 10 milligram, 5 to 10 milligram. It can be given as a cyclic form from day 5, continuous for 21 days, bleeding again day 5. It can be continued even for 6 months to 1 year. And sometimes in some patients, you can go with the luteal phase. That is only for 10 to 14 days with no other symptoms. Only they are under stress and they have a feeling that they don't have the regular bleeding. In that condition, you can go with the luteal phase of day 14, 10 days to 14 days progesterone. With the progesterone, sometimes they may have the spotting and there may be a disturbance with the endometrial cases. In that cases, you can think of low dose estrogen combined oral contraceptive pills. The COS should be considered with the diagnosis of PCOS and the management of hyperandrogenism and irregular menstrual cycle. And it can be considered if you think this patient is a risk case for PCOS and she is a case to treat for clinical hyperandrogenism. In that case also, with low dose estrogen and the progesterone combination, OC pills can be given. for 6 months to 1 year. What happens with these OC pills? These OC pills, as I mentioned, that FSH-LH ratio will be decreased, LH will be increased. It will decrease the FSH and LH and increases the hepatic synthesis, that is hormone binding globulin will be increased, which it is reduced. And as a result, the free androgen testosterone levels will be reduced and reducing the ovarian androgen production. So finally, the hyperandrogenism will get settled. So these are all the actions of the OC pills. What hyperandrogenism? If a patient comes with history of hirsutism, alopecia, and acne, the same OC pills with anti-androgens that will show in the next picture. If they comes with hirsutism, the mechanical methods can be advised before you start the pharmacotherapy. That is the shaving, hair with the hammers, threading, waxing, using local creams. Our adolescents are very well fond of this creams and waxing. You do this and remove the hairs and then go with the OC pills with anti-androgens. That is progesterone and estrogen. Progesterone preferably cyproterone acetate of 2 milligram and estrogen ethinyl estradiol of 35 milligram. The same procedure, day 3 or day 4, it has to be started for 21 days. Again withdrawal and again day 3. It has to be continued for 6 months to 1 year. Most of the girls, they will tell, whenever I stop the tablets, I am not getting the bleeding, madam. In that case, if needed, you can continue even for 2 years. There is no harm in continuing this for 2 years also. Or else you give for 1 year, give the gap, whatever pharmacotherapy is given, the lifestyle modification of diet and exercise has to be continued. So this is the hyperandrogenism treatment we are going. Then what about the metformin? Metformin, insulin sensitizer. As I told, insulin resistant cases with acanthosis and family history, if present only, this metformin has to be given. Metformin should not be given to reduce the obesity. In combinations with OC pills, metformin can be given if a BMI is increased of 25 kg and again the cycles are not settled and the patient is very obese. To avoid the metabolic complications, you can give the metformin. Of greater benefit to reduce the metabolic risk, mainly the metformin type 2 diabetes and in future. So metformin can be given along with OC pills if you consider that patient is having the insulin resistance. Maximum of 2 grams studies are telling, but for our practical purpose, you can give 500 milligram BD. That's enough, I think. That is the one which I practice. So metformin is not given to reduce the obesity. Then what to do with the obesity? Only the lifestyle modification, exercise, exercise, exercise. About this anti-obesity drugs, Orlistat and sibutramine, some studies tell that it can be given, but the lifestyle modification exercise only will reduce the obesity. This is not at all essential. Metformin is not useful for weight reduction. And about this laparoscopic drilling, most of them will tell 4 punctures, 4 millimeter, like that the laparoscopic drilling of the ovary. But it is not at all advised in adolescent. Bariatric surgery is also not advised in adolescent. So surgical part is not at all to be done for an adolescent. If needed, it can be given as a last part during the late adolescence, that is after 19. So what is to be done? If there is a menstrual irregularity, go with OC pills. If it is an androgenic features present, go with anti-androgen combined OC pills. What about this ionositol? Ionositol, that is myoinositol and daiquirinositol of 40:1 ratio. I think this is also useful with the adolescent. But to prove that this is essential, we need lot of materials has to be needed. But there is no harm in using this. The complications with inositol is less compared with the hormonal therapy. So PCOS should be considered in any adolescent girl presenting with chief complaints of hirsutism and treatment-resistant acne, menstrual irregularity, acanthosis nigricans of IR, and obesity. Depending on that complaints only, we have to diagnose PCOS and we have to treat PCOS. Shall we see 3 cases? I think all of you are well versed with this PCOS, how it has to be diagnosed, and what are all the investigation has to be done, and what is the treatment is given. See, this is a girl. 3 cases I have kept. 15-year-old girl with a board exam came to gynecopy with complaints of excessive hair loss, amenorrhea, and acne over the shoulder area, and history of similar episode in the previous years. Her BMI is 22 kg. Signs of no signs of hirsutism and acanthosis nigricans. How this case to be followed? We should categorize like this: 15-year, BMI 22, excessive hair loss, acne present, amenorrhea 4 months, acanthosis not present. So in this case, amenorrhea, rule out pregnancy. If a TSH and prolactin, rule out the hyperprolactinemia, free testosterone, other, that is calculated free testosterone, adrenal, and 75 OGT2 to rule out diabetes. Give the progesterone, withdrawal bleeding, then you do the ultrasound. So the final treatment is exercise, OC pills to regularize her bleeding, and regular follow-up. This OCP can be continued, as I mentioned, for 6 years to 1 month. So that is the first case. Then the second case is 17-year-old girl joined college. She is in a hostel. She is very fond of fast food, burgers and cola, and came to OP. But all these adolescent girls with fast food eaters, they will Google it and see what will happen. So she is afraid of whether she will have the PCOS, and in future she will develop the cancers. So such a girl, 17 years, irregular cycle, eats junk food, and Googled, and she is anxious whether she want to know PCOS or cancer. How will you do this patient? Again, in this, rule out thyroid profile. TSH, you can do it. And prolactin, rule out the hyperprolactinemia for irregular cycles. And free testosterone, better for adrenal and obesity BMI. GTT, that is 2 hours GTT has to be done, and ultrasound. In this case also, again, lifestyle modification, whatever treatment you give, diet and exercise is important. And for this girl, counseling is important. If no effect with lifestyle modification, and if she is not following that, in that case, you can consider OC pills. At SH, you no need to start OC pills for this patient, though it is an irregular cycle, because she is fond of food. As counsel her, counsel her, counsel her. Last case. This is 17-year-old girl with OP, complaints of excessive facial hair growth. She is always, the girl will come only if the friends are telling anything, who are you having this hair growth like it, and she is having the regular bleeding, but hair growth is present. Then she is a case of hyperandrogenism. What happens? This growth is increasing after her cosmetic therapy. So she is once image is foiled, means they lose the confidently. And scoring is 10 with the hirsutism. Her father is also diabetic. So what is to be done for this case? 17-year-old, excessive facial hair, increasing, regular bleeding, Ferryman-Gallagher score of 10, and lack of confidence. Again, rule out thyroid, prolactin. Thyroid and prolactin, definitely it should be done. Thyroid, prolactin, OGTT. And calculate a free testosterone. If you do, you can rule out the other adrenal causes. So in this case, you go with the anti-androgens for 6 months, and some with the excessive facial growth, even after the cosmetic therapy, you can think of myoinositol. This myoinositol can be given for 3 to 6 months, definitely with the same component. It can be given 40:1 ratio. It can be given for 6 months. So these are all the 3 cases with different findings. First case, hirsutism present with irregular cycle. Second, irregular cycle, no hirsutism. Third, hirsutism present with regular cycle. If everything is present and obesity is present without any signs and symptoms, only obesity, only lifestyle is enough. Lifestyle modification is enough. Hope I have covered whatever is needed for adolescent PCOS. This is the natural hypoinsulinemic agents. You can advise the girls to take the soya bean, neem, amla, onion, garlic, turmeric, and jamun. This, whether it is going to help, it will not harm. So this can be advised. So take home message is less than 8 years, no ultrasound, ask for menstrual irregularity and hyperandrogenism. Ultrasound only with all features should be done. Clinical and biochemical features of hyperandrogenism should be present. Routine assessment of FSH and LH-AMH is not needed. Excuse me. Insulin resistance with acanthosis and OGTT screening for obesity, hypertension, obstructive sleep apnea, emotional well-being, eating disorders, body image issues should be ruled out. Education, self-empowerment, multidisciplinary care, and lifestyle modification is the main treatment for PCOS. Lifestyle modification is the first line, and menstrual irregularity present OC pills with low dose estrogen, hirsutism present OC pills with hyperandrogenism for 6 months to 1 year. If needed, you can give for 2 years also, no problem. Metformin, if insulin resistance, if you suspect, and to avoid metabolic features, you can give the metformin. I think, thank you. Ramanan, anyone is there? Balaji?
Ma'am, hello ma'am, this is Dr. Kiran.
And Dr. Kiran, this is any questions?
Ma'am, what I will do is, first of all, a big thanks for a wonderful presentation, ma'am. There are some questions in the chat. I'll read out the questions to you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, the first question is from Dr. Vandita Agarwal. What she tells is, how long can we prescribe in adolescent PCOS the OC pills? And the second part of her question is, can we give it for 10-year-olds?
Can you give it for 10-year-old?
Yes, ma'am. And how long can we prescribe the PCOS patient, adolescent PCOS patient with OCPs?
Yes, first in the 10-year-old girl, you have to confirm whether she is a case of PCOS. If only BMI is present, means lifestyle modification is enough. If hirsutism and hyperandrogenic features present only, you have to go with OC pills. Otherwise, only progesterone you can give. For a 10-year-old girl, only irregular bleeding. For a 10-year-old girl, normally HPO axis maturity will take 2 years. So for irregular bleeding, there is no need for OC pills. Depending on the complaints only, it has to be given. If at all, if hirsutism present, she has attained 2 years of a menarche, then the OC pills can be given for 6 months to 1 year, not more than that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, next question is from Dr. Raja Ilvarisi. She asks, what is the usefulness of insulin glucose ratio, ma'am?
Nowadays, we don't follow that. Fasting insulin is not at all needed. There is no importance. There are a lot of studies which tells that there is no need. If you want to consider as insulin resistance, means only 2 hours OGTT is enough. And the symptoms of acanthosis and acrocordance, if it is present, it is enough. No need for that ratio and all.
Okay, ma'am.
Definitely.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is from Dr. Jayachandran. Yes. He asks, can we use glitazones in lean PCOS?
Glitazones, no idea. We are concerned only with the metformin. I have never used a glitazones. We have to ask a diabetologist. No, I think it is not needed. That too for adolescent.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is from Dr. Shireen Parveen, ma'am. What she asks is how to manage lean PCOS with menorrhagia in every cycle.
If it is a PCOS, means there may not be menorrhagia. They will be having oligo or anovulation. Thin. If it is menorrhagia is present, we have to rule out any other problems of AUP, puberty menorrhagia cases. If you consider with all clinical and biochemical features of PCOS, means again you go with the OC pills. If hirsutism present, OC pills with anti-androgen. If no hirsutism, only menorrhagia, means low dose estrogen or combined OC pills you can give for 6 months to 1 year. And if again the patient is not convinced, again she is having, means after 1 year you go with the progesterone. Lean PCOS, you have to prove that she is a case of PCOS with whatever criteria I have told.
Right, ma'am. Right, ma'am. Ma'am, one question from my side. There are so many formulations of minoxidil. So according to you, what is the right dosage of minoxidil, ma'am?
Shield people is asking the question. See, myoinositol, most people, the studies, as per studies, there is no study which tells that it should not be used in adolescent. So normally we give no that 5 grams, I think. What is that dosage 5 gram? That sachet form we have no. That sachet form, morning 1 and evening 1, 5 grams, that has to be continued. That is 5 grams, I think.
That's 2 grams BID, ma'am. 2 grams
2 grams, yes, 4 grams, sorry, 4 grams, 2 grams BD. That you cannot give 2 grams OD. It has to be given 2 grams BD continuously for 3 months. Yeah, the patients, if you tell that you will be all right, definitely they will take. Some doctors tell that it is costly, but as in my experience, myoinositol I have used for adolescent also. It is useful.
Right. Ma'am, the next question is from Dr. Vidya Prem. She's asking, what is your experience on this drug, eflornithine topical ointment, and how long it should be given?
That is the local only. Whenever hair growth is present, you are going to apply the local cream. Other than that, nothing. Whatever the girl prefers, that she can go. She can go for ablation. She can go for a laser, the cream. That's all. That is not our choice. Whatever we can give, whatever is available. It is the girl who decides before starting the pharmacological treatment. If you go with this ablation procedure, it will be easier. That's all.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is from Dr. Rajalakshmi K. She asks, on which day of menstrual cycle is preferable to do a free testosterone level?
Nothing specific. Free testosterone. Normally, we are not specific with the one. Normally, for serum prolactin, previously we used to tell us day 14. Nowadays, there is no that thing. Only the follicular study 3 to 5. Other than that, anytime you can do that free testosterone. That is the calculated free testosterone.
Right, ma'am.
If you have time, I want to put 3 more slides. Do I have time, Dr. Kiran?
Please, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
See, I take this opportunity. Since all doctors are there, I want to tell them about that. What are all the counseling to be done with adolescents? I am very fond of adolescents. Everyone should take care of adolescents. This is the challenges with adolescents. 45% of the adolescent girls are undernourished. 20% of adolescent boys are undernourished. Even the early marriage, less than 15 years, 26% in girls, and less than 18 years in 54%. Sexually active, we think that they don't know anything, but sexually active adolescent boys are 20 to 30% and girls are 10% as per statistics. They also know about condoms and contraceptives. When you go for an adolescent counseling, you have to talk about condoms and contraceptives. 59% know about condoms and 49% know about the contraceptives. 4.5% are drug abuse users. That has to be counseled. We think we don't know. They may not get from the home, but from the friends, they will get it. And adolescent abortion is 1 to 4.4 million unsafe abortions. So it is better to talk about contraceptives. So whenever an adolescent girl come to your clinic, please talk to them. These 6 points. Talk to them about the eating habits and talk to them about the importance of breakfast and anemia. When a girl is 12 years, the hemoglobin should be 12 grams. If you don't correct the hemoglobin in adolescent, she will go for menorrhagia, and during the pregnancy, maternal mortality now 60% is mainly with anemia. So the anemia has to be corrected during adolescence itself. Then the stress, reading stress, get the first mark, she has to get A grade, like that, lot of stress. Love failure, still it is going on. This stress, that has to be counseled. During stress and angry, ask them not to decide anything, because the suicidal tendency nowadays has increased, and the behavioral pattern about the safe touch and unsafe touch, what are all the things can happen, how it can happen, you should talk to them. Then these habits, which I told, smoking, alcohol, we think that girls are not doing. Still, there is a statistic which tells that 10 to 20% girls are doing the smoking, alcohol, and drug abuse. You should counsel them what will happen in future, what are all the cancers possible. That has to be counseled. And finally, about the teenage pregnancy, how it can happen, how to avoid this, what complications will happen with this teenage pregnancy. So talk to them about the 6 facts: nutrition, anemia, stress, and bad touch, safe touch, unsafe touch, drug abuse, and pregnancy. And ask the girls or boys, this is the main important thing. Take pleasure and pride in saying no. When they want to tell no, they should tell no. Other than that, nothing. Ways to tell no means polite refusal, give reasons why you don't want this, repeat refusal, walk away, ignore the person, avoid the situation, find other support, talk about your own feelings. Even the Nirbhaya Act, criminal act, whatever act comes, they should be in a position to tell no. I think this no means no. That's all. So take an opportunity to talk to the adolescent girls about these things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There are a few more questions, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is from Dr. Jyoti. She asks, what is the role of ormeloxifene?
Ormeloxifene should not be used in adolescent. Ormeloxifene is mainly with AUB and it cannot be used with adolescent.
Okay. Okay. Ma'am, the next question is from Dr. Shireen Parveen. She asks, I think the question means, what is the role of USG in PCOS with respect to adolescent age, menorrhagia, endometrial hyperplasia, anemia due to heavy bleeding, lean PCOD? What is the role of USG in these conditions, ma'am?
USG, as far as PCOS is concerned, as I told, they have to tell about the ovarian morphology, whether how many follicles is present, each follicle measurement 2 to 9 millimeter of 10 follicles, and the ovarian volume of 10 ml. If endometrium to see the endometrial thickness, it has to be done on the 3rd or the 5th day. Then only after the shedding, it will be correct. Other than that, menorrhagia, what are all the other causes? Sperm coin, that has to be ruled out, whether fibroid is present, endometriosis is present, any other problem in the uterus. Then other than that, nothing specific about the USG. To diagnose as PCOS, this finding should be present. It should be present. Even if it is present in the single ovary, you can consider as PCOS. For AUB, ultrasound in adolescents, I don't think if there is no pathology, it will not be useful.
Right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Dr. Jayachandran, ma'am. He asks, in married girls with PCOD who don't desire pregnancy but want a regular cycle, what is the treatment of choice, ma'am?
Regular cycle, married girls, what is the problem? They can go with ocipils, low dose estrogen they can have. Since they are sexually active, nowadays we advise even the copper T for sexually active adolescent girls. So if she want to have for 1 or 2 years, she can have the copper T also. No harm in doing the copper T.
Right,
now
ma'am.
progesterone you have in that injection form also, progesterone that can be given. DMPA, Antara injection is available, that can be given. Now all forms of progesterone can be given. If needed, they can go with ocipils also for 1 or 2 years.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is from Dr. Muthu Kumari. She asks, are there any specific investigations for lean PCOS?
Lean PCOS, obese PCOS, the obesity has to be reduced. Lean PCOS, same investigation only. We have to see whether menstrual irregularity is present or androgenic features is present, nothing special. Most of the time, the lean PCOS, that hyperandrogenism features will be present. If it is present, the same treatment ocipils with anti-androgen. No special investigation for lean PCOS. So I diagnose the lean PCOS will be late, because if it is obese, we will think obese patient will have the PCOS. But lean patient, you may diagnose at a little 2 or 3 months later. That's all.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is from Dr. Shireen Parveen. She has a very interesting question. She says, if you have lean adolescents with no PCOS in ultrasound, but they have endometrial hyperplasia and she has severe menorrhagia causing anemia, how to manage these kind of patients, ma'am? And all other investigations are normal.
What is the age? Anyway, lean PCOS, ultrasound feature alone of PCOS, you cannot consider diagnose her as PCOS. If menorrhagia is present, means with the palm coin, you rule out the other causes. If everything is normal and only hormonal disturbance is present, means you can go with progesterone alone, or if spotting and endometrial problem is present, means you can go with a low dose estrogen and progesterone combination. If the patient is obese, you can, and she told lean, no, then it is a desogestrel, that is enough. Low dose estrogen with the combination of progesterone ocipils, she can have for 1 year, no problem. Menorrhagia has to be corrected. Otherwise, the adolescent girls will go for anemia and you have to correct the anemia. What happens that sometimes they may not get corrected and they end up with the blood transfusion also. So main is hormonal treatment must be the reason for her lean patient. She may not be a case of PCOS.
Okay. Any more questions, doctors, to ma'am?
I thank
Any more
all
questions?
the doctors who participated in this, the evening time with the webinar. All are safe at home, I think. Anyway, thank you very much. And again, I thank Shield people for giving the wonderful topic of adolescent PCOD.
Dr. Sampath Kumari, it was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, madam.
Actually, I really appreciate your concern over the adolescent society. They have to be really controlled, I mean, by the parents and also by the consultants.
Thank you, madam.
And
Thank you.
how about the sleep disturbance in them?
What, madam?
Sleep disturbance.
Sleep disturbance.
Mm.
Most of the time, the adolescents will be always sleeping, madam. If there is a disturbance is present, there is some problem. We have to make.
Yeah, because obese adolescents, they have sleep disturbance and also sleep apnea.
Obstructive sleep apnea.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
has to be
obstructive sleep
corrected.
apnea. That has to be corrected, yes.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I can propose a vote of thanks. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking time out. And as usual, it's always my privilege to hear, ma'am. And it was a privilege of so many doctors. It was house full, ma'am, and many doctors could not log in. So we will definitely have one more session on this, ma'am. Thank you so much on behalf of Shield Healthcare, ma'am, for taking the time and preparing the slides and giving such a wonderful lecture and having a wonderful, wonderfully interactive session. Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you all the doctors for logging in also.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
all.
you. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. Have a safe day.
Thank you, doctors.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank each one of you. Thanks to Dr. Sampath Kumar.
Thank you, Balaji sir.
Madam, today there was a problem because the house, it was house full.
Oh, thank
So
you.
more than 100 people, they were not able to log in. So I request Dr. Sampath Kumari to have once more of this program.
Sure, sir. Balaji sir. If you tell, we
Those
can.
doctors who cannot log in, we are very sorry. We will have one more program organized soon.
Definitely.
So
sir.
thank you, doctor, for sparing your time. Thank you.
Thank you for organizing.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
doctor.
you. Thank you very much, madam.
Oh.